All right, the Russia investigation, which is being overseen by the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, is beyond corrupt, beyond political, and has now turned into an open-ended fishing expedition. And just like Robert Mueller, Rod Rosenstein has glaring, inexcusable conflicts of interest that we can no longer ignore. Yesterday, Rosenstein had this back and forth with our own Chris Wallace on Fox News Sunday. Take a close look at this.
The special counsel is subject to the rules and regulations of the Department of Justice, and we don't engage in fishing expeditions. Now, that order that you read, that doesn't detail specifically who may be the subject of the investigation, right, because we don't reveal that publicly. But Bob Mueller understands, and I understand, the specific scope of the investigation, and so, no, it's not a fishing expedition.
I understand it's not a fishing expedition, but you say any matters that arose or may arise directly from the investigation. In the course of his investigation of the issues that he is looking at, if he finds evidence of a crime, can he look at that?
Well, Chris, if he finds evidence of a crime that's within the scope of what Director Mueller and I have agreed is the appropriate scope of his investigation, then he can. If it's something outside that scope, he needs to come to the Acting Attorney General, at this time me, for permission to expand his investigation.
Mr. Rosenstein, you can't be serious. Now, you're not going to let the special counsel turn into a fishing expedition? Sir, it already has. Now, remember, this whole investigation was supposed to be about President Trump, his campaign, supposedly colluding with the Russians. This has gone on 11 months. No smoking gun proving it ever happened or anything was done in terms of law-breaking. But instead of ending it there, there are reports that Mueller is now looking into the finances of President Trump and the Trump Organization and the associates of President Trump. And Mueller has also reportedly impaneled a grand jury in Washington, D.C. Let's go to Washington, D.C. The president got a little over 4% of the vote. More on that in just a minute. So going off of what Rosenstein just said on Fox News Sunday, he's now given Mueller the green light. It appears he can do whatever he wants. Legal scholar Jonathan Turley, a Democrat, is out with a brand new op-ed on thehill.com. He makes several key points about why he rightly believes that Rosenstein, he needs to recuse himself, including this one. Rosenstein is likely going to be a witness in this investigation that he caused, because he took the lead in writing the letter to President Trump on why former FBI Director James Comey should be fired. By the way, they're also looking into that as a possible obstruction. He's a witness. Rosenstein is also the guy who appointed Robert Mueller and apparently either didn't know or didn't care about the fact that the day before naming Mueller as special counsel, Mueller, he had an interview with President Trump. He wanted to be the FBI director. You can't make this up. Now, Rosenstein has also sat by quietly, turned a blind eye to Robert Mueller's massive conflicts of interest, like the fact that Mueller and James Comey, they're close friends. As our colleague and friend and attorney Greg Jarrett continues to point out, that relationship could be a violation of 2 laws. Then take a look at this chart. 8 of the 16 members that Mueller has appointed to his team have made political donations, shockingly, all to Democrats. But the other 8, according to public records, have not donated to anybody. Okay, 8 Democrats, 0 Republican donors. How is that okay? And why couldn't he tell Mueller to find nonpartisan investigators to make up his team? Now, just for a second, use your imagination. If the tables were turned, would a Democrat allow a special counsel to only appoint Republican donors? No way. What he is now doing, it's now ridiculous, it's beyond the pale, and Rosenstein should be ashamed of himself for even letting this happen. And as we've said on this program, and we've spoken numerous times about America, we can't have a 2-tiered justice system. It's got to be equal justice under the law. So if we believe in that, if we believe in the Constitution, then it would be time for Rosenstein and the DOJ to restore the rule of law and start looking into the massive Democratic scandals that have incontrovertible evidence that we have been telling you about. For example, on Friday, we were reporting on how the American Center for Law and Justice obtained, through a Freedom of Information Act request, Department of Justice documents related to the former Attorney General, Loretta Lynch. Remember that 40-minute TARMAC meeting? They were talking about their grandkids. That took place just days before Comey made his announcement about Hillary Clinton, and he laid out a 13-minute stinging indictment just to finish with, never mind. Now, the revelations are stunning. And according to the ACLJ, well, the FBI lied about the existence, that documents were even there, and telling the legal group they didn't exist. Second, there are several email exchanges between FBI and DOJ officials with the subject, quote, flag, where they discussed how media outlets were starting to report on the TARMAC meeting, which obviously is inappropriate. Then they came up with a set of talking points, but in the emails that were released, well, those talking points were redacted. The DOJ and FBI are not supposed to be political organizations. They are to be non-political. And that begs the question, why are the FBI, why is the DOJ coming up with talking points if they're not supposed to be political? And if that's not bad enough, tonight we have another stunning piece of information from those DOJ documents. A Daily Caller reported earlier today. The ACLJ has confirmed that Loretta Lynch used an email alias as Attorney General, going with the name, quote, Elizabeth Carlisle. And according to our friend Greg Jarrett, public officials like Loretta Lynch, you're not supposed to do that. But Lynch's attorney defended her use of the fake name in a statement to the Daily Caller, so apparently that kind of conduct, that's only acceptable in the Obama Department of Justice. Doesn't seem to impact Rosenstein. Now, in addition to finding out that Lynch used the email alias, documents also show that Lynch was aware of these talking points that were created. Wow. The same person that said, oh, it's not an investigation, it's a matter. Let's take a look here. Lynch's reply in an email chain with the subject line, quote, talking points / statement. Lynch wrote, quote, thanks to all who worked on this, and then signed it AG. So Lynch, who didn't think it was necessary to tell you, the American people, about meeting Bill Clinton on a tarmac, you know, just days before she was going to make a ruling on his wife for 40 minutes, not talking about grandchildren, in my opinion, helped craft talking points about the encounter only after the media picked it up on their own and then they started reporting it, on top of James Comey testifying that Lynch told him to call this investigation a matter. Well, that was a Clinton talking point. So should Loretta Lynch now have to testify under oath about these matters? The answer is obviously yes. This is the definition of the two-tiered justice system I've been talking about. This has to end. You want another example? Hillary Clinton had secret, top secret, special access program, classified information on an unsecure server in a mom-and-pop shop bathroom closet. She deleted 33,000 subpoenaed emails. And then just to make sure, she acid washed the whole thing with bleach pit. And then she had an aide, according to reports, smashing mobile phones with hammers. And her legal team finally does turn over to the FBI BlackBerries, but they're useless to the FBI. They didn't have their SIM cards. Oh, mere oversight. Then there's Debbie Wasserman Schultz, her IT staffer, arrested for bank fraud. Remember double billing? He's trying to flee the country after sending money to Pakistan. Wasserman Schultz is now defending her decision to keep this guy on the payroll despite the fact that he was under investigation and didn't have access to the House servers. And there's this. Similar to Clinton, the Daily Caller reported the FBI has seized 2 smashed hard drives. What is it with Democrats wanting to smash hard drives, bleach bit hard drives and servers, and smash devices? This is like an obsession of theirs. In my world, where I grew up, that's called obstruction of justice. Now, the staffer's lawyer is disputing this, but I'm not buying it. Next is the Obama administration. Okay, what about all the unmasking? Sarah Carter reporting last week, former Obama National Security Advisor Ben Rhodes is now a person of interest in the House Intelligence Committee's investigations into unmasking. That's of your fellow citizens. And a report from the Washington Free Beacon, former Obama UN Ambassador Samantha Power unmasked hundreds of people in her final year, an election year, many related to Trump. Why would a UN ambassador need to do that? Now, sources that spoke to the Free Beacon, they said this is unprecedented. And we also learned Congress is questioning other former Obama officials, Susan Rice, John Brennan, about unmasking. And on top of that, we got the issue of intelligence leaks. Also, The Hill's John Solomon reporting that the former Obama Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, remember him? He made it easier for those officials in the executive branch of Obama to unmask members of Congress and their staffers. Why aren't special counsels being called to investigate all of these instances? The Constitution of this great country is now being shredded right before your very eyes. Your Fourth Amendment privacy rights are being violated, and it seems like on a daily basis. Then there's out of control, dangerous leaks from the deep state, almost a leak a day. It's happening at the rate of 7 times greater than the previous 2 administrations. And you know what? This has got to end. It is literally impeding the progress of the President of the United States. For example, transcripts, remember last week, of the President's phone call, let's see, with a Prime Minister and with a President of another country? When has that ever been leaked? These are crimes of the deep state that need to be investigated. People need to be charged, they need to be put under oath, and some of them need to go to jail. And Sarah Carter reported that the FBI's top lawyer, remember him? Oh, James Baker, the chief counsel. He's also under investigation for leaking to the media. James Comey admitted under oath he had a friend leak information to the New York Times. Now, the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, finally, good for him, he announced on Friday that the Department of Justice is going to crack down on these deep state leaks. And finally, there's the anti-Trump fake news dossier, Fusion GPS, the opposition research firm, which ties to Democrats. Remember, they were behind that. The dossier was put together by that former British spy, Christopher Steele, and used sources that were tied to the Russian government. Well, now the evidence is so overwhelming, even Democrats, even Congressman Adam Schiff, Mr. I want to be a talk show host guest at any time I can. He's now admitting he wants to talk to Steele, which is even more reason that we need special counsels looking into all of these incidences. Now, it all comes down to this. Does Rod Rosenstein know what is going to happen if Mueller's mission creep continues to go unchecked? How does he think voters are going to feel? How many Trump supporters will feel robbed of their right and their vote in the free election of the President of the United States? You don't think the country is divided enough now? It will be more divided than ever. Half the American people are going to rightly feel cheated, and that just can't happen. That is bad for the country, that is bad for the system of justice, and it is bad if we believe in a constitutional republic.